All right, folks. It is week 2 in the NFL. We made it. We're here. The Ricks versus Gricks picks are coming. The booty betting slip is coming in a brand new way, actually. So you'll see more of that on our Instagram, TikTok, at 323Reid, at 323REID on all social media. Of course, I am Reid Murphy, the host of the 323, joined right now by the Big Chief Burrito himself, Luis Martinez, as we do on Thursdays.
Pull the fantasy strings.
And that's right. We have fantasy football to talk. We do it every Thursday during the Ricks versus Gricks. And Luis is our expert. He's been doing this for a long time. He's an incredible player. Not a champion in our league, but we're getting there. It was close. It was second year last year in there.
Yeah, it's in the final.
Yeah, feeling it out. So, but he knows everything else on there, and he wasn't the champion because we steal his picks. We steal the advice that he's giving you right now and put it into our own championship claims. So right now, folks, and even better, he was sad last year because Scott gets imaging for the booty betting slip. Zoo's got the Zoo Bear roar going on. We never had imaging for the fantasy burritos until now. It's time for that shit.
You want me to run wild over your misses? Just let me know.
I need to send you a picture when I'm 30 pounds lighter, but please. But other than that, I love it.
We'll do it. We'll always update it.
All right, guys. All right, it's time for fantasy burritos. And in week 2 of the fantasy football season, again, I've been doing this for 25 years since we had to send in our picks on pen and paper to the newspaper to keep our fantasy scores. Since baseball rotisserie leagues in the early 90s, I've been at it. So, week 2 of fantasy football season. If you're 1-0, you're gravy. If you're 0-1, it's all about what's true and what isn't. What's real? Did you spend a lot of money in draft capital on rookie running backs like Omarion Hampton, Caleb Johnson? A lot of these kids did not get a lot of run. A lot of people that thought Harvey in Denver was they could just take him as their second running back and there'd be Swayze, are having doubts this week. What's real? Is Nico Collins going to have shitty weeks back to back? What's real? Is Justin Fields and Aaron Rodgers good enough to pick up and play if you're in a 10-team league or in a 2 QB league? So a lot of the things, my advice to fantasy managers is don't jump the gun, right? You might have had a couple of people on your bench that had better weeks than the people that you played. You might have spent a lot of money on Hollywood Brown because, like you said, maybe you had Nico Collins that laid an egg. Harvey laid an egg. A lot of Trayvon Henderson laid an egg. A lot of these people only got a few touches. Even Ashton Jenta didn't really have a lot of fantasy relevance this last week, and a lot of veterans did. Maybe AJ Brown got you a goose egg. There's a lot of first, second, third round people that laid an egg this past week, and it's not time to jump ship yet. And if you spent capital on them, then you're going to play them again. Week 3 and 4 is when you start doing that, but you can take a look at trends. You can figure out what defense suck. I mean, we already know that we're going to play all our running backs and wide receivers against Carolina because they fucking suck. And you're also going to know that just because somebody did good against Carolina, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be great for the rest of the year. So take your opportunities when I can. Take a look at the people that are overreacting in our league. In a 10-team league that I have with these guys, somebody dropped Travis Etienne.
Yeah.
And I picked them up on waivers. I picked up Travis Etienne on waivers. And Jacksonville traded Tank Bigsby, which was also on a bunch of my other teams. So now that means Travis Etienne is startable on my league. At least he's ahead of Omarion Hampton, which I drafted very early. So in our specific case, I have a running back that I picked up off waivers that's going to be a stud for the rest of the year. And I'm sitting a rookie running back that I drafted highly, but hasn't really shown me enough so far this year. Even Malik Neighbors didn't show me a lot week 1, and I'm still going to ride with him. him. So don't overreact. I got a couple of people that you can pick up. I'm going to switch off here so I can go to my notes here, but you'll still be able to hear me. But let's talk really quickly about running backs and wide receivers, okay? Look, I think more than ever, this is a streaming tight end year. Because you had people like Zach Ertz, the Fanning kid in Cleveland. We have a lot of people. Jonas Smith, all of a sudden, was one of Aaron Rodgers' favorite options. We got Michael Mayer. We got a lot of dart throws that you do in the tight end department, Raul. Kittle got hurt. One of the other San Francisco tight ends caught a touchdown. There's a lot of stuff out there. So in some leagues, I thought that I wanted multiple tight ends because I had like a Hawkinson, and I also wanted to pick up a Fanning and somebody else. But really, if you have, Kyle Pitts even balled out, and he was going in the 14th, 15th round. So don't feel like you need to make a big move on tight end right now. There's a lot of stuff. Zachariah for your Washington Commanders even got in the game right now. Harold Fanning Jr., again, a good name to keep an eye on, a tight end out of Cleveland that's going to come in and do a lot of good stuff. All right, as far as wide receivers and flex position goes, Baishul Tutin, I don't know how to fucking pronounce his name, but he's about 50% rostered, and he would be the number one running back to add because of the Tank Bigsby trade. All right. Travis Etienne is going to be the workhorse, and they did draft Baishul, who's got a lot of speed. So that would be my number one person to look for. If you're in a deeper league, DJ Giddens of the Colts came in, didn't look overwhelmed as a backup for the Colts. And again, at this area, if you're short on tight ends, you need to look for value. That means backups like Trey Benson, DJ Giddens, who, if there's an injury, can come in and be a starter that can give you an above average replacement production level. Also, if you have in-between spots on your roster and you have some marginal talent, it's a good idea if you have like James Conner and you have an open roster spot, or if on Sunday one of your players gets put on IR and you're able to have up a roster spot because you have a player on IR, then every week you should be trying to find a spot for your handcuffs. If you're a James Conner owner, you should absolutely be trying to pick up Trey Benson and put them at the end of your bench. If you own the Jonathan Taylor and the Colts, you should definitely be picking up DJ Giddens and picking up that. Ollie Gordon was a good example of that as well. And then you also have players that could be around that could give you like, give me a second here. Like I said, like a DJ Gideon, like Will Shipley, he got hurt. There's a lot of players. Xavier Worthy got hurt. George Kittle got hurt. So there's a lot of players that got hurt, and that's just week one. And it's going to keep getting back like that. Another one that's probably on somebody's team, but you might want to take a look at if it's a dart throw, is Quinshon Judkins from the Browns. A lot of Browns players, they got Joe Flacco. They're throwing the ball. I told you about Cedric Tillman before the season started, and he did catch a touchdown in week one. But Quinshon Judkins, or if he's not available, Dylan Sampson from the Browns or other running backs that you can pick up. Rashad White is also a risky flex option. Trey Benson, like I said, even Rico Dowdle is a good option if you are in a deeper league. But again, if you're in a 10-team standard league, then there's a good chance that there's a lot better quality players out there that are going. All right. In terms of wide receiver, I already told you about Cedric Tillman. Christian Kirk's coming back. He's pretty much only 40% rostered. That's good. Wide receiver gets a little trickier. I picked up Mr. Boutte in a bunch of leads. He had a great week with Derek May. So there's a lot of value out there. Eric Ayomar, Tennessee, is a good thing. We have Darnell Mooney is still available in a lot of leagues. You can get him. Wan'Dale Robinson is available in a lot of reams. Marvin Mims, Denver. Knicks didn't look great, but, there's still going to be a chance that that's a dominating defense, so there's a lot of play there. Trey Tucker, Joshua Palmer, Quentin Johnson comes out of nowhere. He was a number one fantasy ad this week for the Chargers, and that's in an offense where they have a Marion Hampton, McConaughey, and also McConkey, and also Keenan Allen that came back and became fantasy relevant. So Justin Herbert, he's throwing the ball a lot around. There's definitely a lot of stuff that you can do out there. I mentioned Harold Fanning Jr. on the Browns. I think think that the Cleveland Browns are going to be fantasy relevant this week. I think they're going to be in a shootout with the Bengals, so I think that's going to be interesting. Brenton Strange is also a good tight end out of Jacksonville. That's not there in terms of rostering, and that can take the place of an Evan Engram and get a lot of his routes run. And then finally, let's take a quick look at our streamers in terms of defense and kickers for this week. Anybody who's playing Carolina, number one, anybody who's playing Carolina, anyone who's playing Tennessee at this point until they prove themselves, and anybody who's playing New Orleans right now is what you should be looking at when you're looking for your fantasy streamers. So that means the Rams, the Niners, and the Chargers. The Chargers are playing Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a little in and out of it, so that's a good pick. The Cowboys, even though they lost, playing the Giants. The Giants are a little bit of disarray. So the Rams, Niners, Chargers, and Cowboys would be our streaming options. One of those should be available in your league. And in terms of kicker, take the kicker out of your league. Nobody wants to talk about kickers. Get yourself. But I did pick up Will Richard in a bunch of my leagues, and I dropped the gay kicker instead of that. So, like I said, this right now is about what's real and what isn't. What's fantasy relevant, what's relevant in your league. Look at the people that people might cut after week one out of desperation, or people that they gave a shot to. Be on the lookout for people that drafted those rookies high, thinking that they were going to have immediate flex appeal, and ended up not realizing that, guess what? The coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers doesn't give a fuck about your fantasy team. And to him, Caleb Johnson is just a rookie that's got some speed but has to earn his stripes. So Caleb Johnson might not be fantasy relevant at all this year, or might only have a couple of glimpses here and there. Try to decide if it's worth keeping him for just in case, or if you're going to be cognizant of the fact that veteran coaches sometimes don't give a fuck, and they have completely different rules about whether or not they're going to play these rookies. So, I know it's the hot thing every draft season. That's why it's better to draft early. Because when you draft early, all this information that's trickling in is only going to certain players, and you can get some of these value picks later rounds. What happens is if you draft the week before the NFL season, all this information is already out there, and all of a sudden Caleb Johnson looks like a third-round draft pick when he might not get on the floor, when he might not be get on the ground, on the field for the Steelers that much. So those are the fantasy burritos. Those are the fantasy plays for the week. Good luck. As always, take a look at what your teammates are doing, what they're lacking, and put a hot sauce on my burrito. Oh, wait. Hot sauce on my fantasy burrito, baby.
We got it in the corner. Got it up there. That's the burritos. That's your fantasy burritos, folks. Thank you very much, Luis. Where can the people find you?
You can find out all about me and my shenanigans at 2amburrito.net. My name is Big Chief Burrito. I'm a filmmaker, podcaster. Now I'm a tattoo artist. So I do a lot of cool shit. 2amburrito.net. You can follow me at Big Chief Burrito on all social media. And you can find me talking sports on the Reid 323 podcast.
That's right. You can check him out. Hopefully we'll see him and the others all on the Sunday Hangover.
Let's see who's not in the room here. You got your boy Luke checking in all the way from California. Where's the rest of the boys?
That's right. We got one slaying demons somewhere down in Richmond, and Scott's asleep. But we'll give him a pass.
Somebody's playing fucking Papa.
He's paying for golf. We gotta give him the pass on there. He's trying to generate I'm
going to spend so much money out of his corporate account when he finally comes to San Diego. It's not even going to be funny.
Folks, follow us, the 323 Network on YouTube, at 323 Reid, at 323 REID on all social media. We will have plenty for you on the social media going into week 2 of the NFL. But in the meantime, enjoy and play smart in fantasy. Stay safe, everybody.